If you backed me into a corner and asked me who my favorite drummer was, I'd probably have to say Jeff Tain Watts. So this will probably be the first of many videos I make about something that he played. But anyway, here's a breakdown of a groove he plays on one of his solo records called Citizen Tain. The tune is called the Impaler. It's an original of his, and it actually first appeared on his debut record as a leader from the early 90s, which is called Megawatts. But this is an explanation of how he plays it on the later release, Citizen Tain, because it's a little different actually. So most of the tune is an up-tempo swing in 4/4, but there are sections of the tune which are over a vamp in 7, and that's what we're checking out here. So it's sort of a typical Afro-Cuban type of groove that has been altered to fit in 7. So like a lot of Afro-Cuban grooves, it's a 2-bar loop, right? It has a bell and a clave pattern that take 2 measures to resolve, and a matching bass line that fits with that. It's a very slick pattern, it's really cool. So here's the basic groove along with the accompanying bass line. So let's isolate these parts. Let's start with the bass line itself, because that's actually trickier than it seems. Here's the bass line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The first and second measures are similar, but they're not exactly the same. Second measure is a little displaced from the first one. Look at the music, the written music, for some more clarity there. But anyway, it's easy to rush the end of the second measure if you're not really hearing all the subdivisions accurately. So here's that bass line again, slower, and I'll count all the quarter notes out loud as the bass line goes by. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So there are a few small variations that Jeff Watts introduces on top of that basic groove pretty soon after he establishes the groove itself. An extra bass drum in each measure and an additional note included in the bell pattern. Check out the written music for that. I included those variations written in parentheses, like you might see a ghost note notated. So here's the groove with all of those little variations included. Including the left foot is a good way to fill out the sound of the groove. So here's what the groove plus the previous variations sounds like with quarter notes on the hi-hat foot. Another option is to play half notes with the hi-hat foot. This is a little more challenging because half notes will go over the bar line in 7/4, right? It takes 2 measures for half notes to resolve back to where they started, right? Because it's an odd number subdivision. So half notes are going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. But anyway, this is a cool device to use because it creates the illusion of a larger 7, like a big 7 happening over the duration of 2 measures of smaller 7. So here's what that groove plus the variation sounds like with half notes on the hi-hat. Hopefully, after internalizing some of these different variations, you'll feel more comfortable playing over this groove. You might try to play in 7, keeping the general feel of this pattern, but maybe depart from some of the specific variations that I've laid out a bit. Maybe aim to try and keep it still within the context of a groove, not a solo necessarily, but just play a little more freely. Well, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and don't forget to check out Tain and the tune itself.